Seth, your thoughts? A horrible night, Jalen bad, coaching bad, all around. Your initial thoughts getting in here.
Well, you know it's bad when the highlight of the night is mentioned by me. That's not good. I don't know, man. You know, I started off post game last night, and I was like, you know what? At some point in time, I've got to get to a point where I check my emotions. You know, because contrary to some people's beliefs, you know, I want the team to do well. I want the city to win more Super Bowls, more championships. But it's hard, man.
I actually thought that was possible this season, before the season started, and now I'm very aware that that's probably not going to happen this season.
I mean, I think most of the time, John, you see change as the season goes along, and we just haven't seen the change.
We've seen change in the wrong direction.
Yet and still, you know, each and every week, you know, the head coach steps to the podium and kind of parrots the same thing. You know, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this better. You know, he's going to, it starts with me, I got to take the blame, you know. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to players, I think that we've evolved in how we deal with players in a way that, you know, ultimately takes some of the blame away from them. Because the coach will stand at the podium and say, you know, I've got to coach them better, I got to do better, you know, I got to look at the film, you know, all these excuses, you know.
But I'm confused.
You got grown men making millions of dollars, making the same mistake over 14 weeks, and you want to point to, you know, the coaches? It makes no sense to me.
Well, I want to point at everyone, and Nick has said, I'm concerned a little bit about the confusing nature of the statement. We know that Nick says he doesn't want to point the finger because he thinks that that's going to be counterproductive. He doesn't want to blame, but how do you hold the team accountable if you don't point the finger, Seth? If you don't blame?
Well, the way that the league is run now, you know, the coaches hold the players accountable outside the vision of our eyes and our ears. So that leaves us to believe that, you know, it's potentially not being done. Mm-hmm. And then when you see, you know, the same mistakes continue to happen again and again and again.
Yeah, why does that occur?
Well, because, you know, he talked about messaging a couple of weeks ago. And after, I think it was the Thursday night game, he said, you know, the message that he needs to send to the team, you know, but it's clear that the messaging is not getting through because they're making the same mistakes. You know,
yes.
They're making the same stupid mistakes. You can look up and down the offensive line and you can watch guys, you know, get out of position and get a holding call that brings a play back. And now you're at 1st and 20. You can look at another guy, you know, it's just.
Now, Stoutland has been scot-free of blame through all of this.
Well, but I mean, because I think to a certain extent, you have to understand the players have to execute whatever it is the coaches are asking them to do. Mm-hmm. Now, is what they're asking them to do, is that the optimal thing? You know, I think you saw some things last night that were a little bit different, you know, not a great amount different, but a little bit different than, you know, what we've seen in previous weeks. But I think that, you know, this whole thing about Jalen not wanting to get under center and Jalen not wanting to run,
not wanting to do some of the things that,
well, I don't know.
Do you believe that?
I don't.
Do you believe he's saying to them, I don't want to run, I don't want to pre-snap motion, I want to keep things simpler? Because that's the rumor going around also.
Well, I wouldn't understand why he wouldn't want pre-snap motion, because
pre-snap
motion doesn't mess, you know, with his eyes or anything. It's
well,
designed.
There's one more thing he has to keep track of. If these players are coming in late and all that stuff, maybe he wants to say, man, I don't want to have to worry about that, getting that off.
But at the end of the day,
late anyway.
At the end of the day, what the motion does, it's an indicator for him in passing situations.
Sure. Gives you more information.
And it's also a way for them to, you know, add an extra guy where they want to run the ball.
Insert to get the best angles possible.
Because the game truly is about numbers. You got a strong side and you got a weak side. And you can manipulate the strong side and you can manipulate the weak side with motion. So I wouldn't understand why motion would be such a bad thing. I wouldn't understand why he wouldn't like, drop back passing from under center when the advantage is you're running the ball better out of under center. Mm-hmm. It gives you better opportunity to throw the ball off play action pass, plus you can get more depth. If you think about it, the quarterback in the shotgun stands there at 4 yards. He takes the snap, he takes maybe 1-2 steps backwards, so he's really in a 5-step drop. When you come from under center, it's a true 7-step drop.
It can be, yeah. It can be 7-step with a hitch. It can be 5 with a hitch.
That would be an advantage, for him, in my opinion. And I think the most alarming thing is, their reluctance to run the RPO and the read option stuff. I get it. He may not want to run. They may be trying to protect him. Nobody really knows for sure. Nick addressed it last week, and then Jalen came back and addressed it and pretty much said, hey, I'll do whatever, is necessary to win games. But it's the threat of him running the football that opens up Saquon in the run game, and it also presents the opportunity, for, the three-headed play. He can either hand it to Saquon. If the defensive end crashes, he can pull it. And if the defensive end, if they scrape the linebacker, now you got, the pass off of it. So why would you not run that? Teams aren't going to force him to run. They're just not going to do that. If their intent is to stop Saquon, then more times than not, the more you show them that, they're going to be trying to figure out how to stop Saquon. And he doesn't even have to run. You just incorporate, the run and the pass off of it and take it out of his hands if he doesn't really want to run the ball. There's so many ways to get to where they want to get to. But the other thing is, guys, 40 passes. When you ask a quarterback who's used to throwing the ball 20, 25 times to throw it 40 times, you're asking for trouble.
Especially when they didn't have to. There was no reason to. It wasn't like you're down. It wasn't like you needed to throw the ball a ton. Your running it made no sense. And he was playing bad.
I think that, Nick has gotten a little too conservative. It used to be a time where he was overly.
Or Jalen.
No, I think Nick has gotten too overly conservative. There was a time where, he was very, very aggressive, and we've seen him pull back from that.
I'll say.
You got time at halftime. We've had this on numerous occasions, with timeouts on the board, and you don't try to take advantage of the clock.
I hate that.
You don't try to take advantage of the clock and use burn your timeouts.
Last night, why didn't we? Last night, why didn't we stretch the game during regulation? We could have my expectation is use all the clock you can, run the football, stay in bounds, rather than throw it, and then you can win that game during regulation with a field goal as time runs out.
Even before that, okay?
But we never do that.
That pass to Smitty was a bad call.
Yes.
Because, first of all, you stopped the clock.
But it was an unbelievable play.
You stop the clock, and then you stop the clock, and then
you're talking about the completion.
No,
he's talking about the 3rd and 11.
The 3rd and 11.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
So you stop the clock for one thing, and you allow them not to burn their last time out. Plus, they're going to get the 2-minute stop.
Yeah.
Okay. If they run the football there, then what? And I can't recollect because I think they may have been out of timeouts at that point. And
they had one more. The Chargers had one timeout left.
So you make them burn it. If you burn it, by the time you turn the ball over, maybe you don't get it. They don't have enough time to get down in field goal position. But you throw that ball, it's incomplete, and then the next thing you know, you stop the clock. Plus they got the timeout. Plus they got the 2-minute warning, and they just move down the field. I don't know. I just Jalen's a whole nother thing, that I'm sure we'll talk about as time goes on here. 4 interceptions is just incomprehensible. but I'm going to say 2 of them, basically weren't his fault. You can't, A.J. Brown can't, T-Rex that ball across the middle. He just can't do that.
Jalen also needs to be more accurate. He also needs to be better with
there was another one that could have been a pick that was dropped that was, looked like it was a pick but wasn't, that he sailed over.
Yeah, but,
he also needs to stay more within the framework of the offense instead of just trying to buy time, run. It feels like, Seth, the only stuff that works route-wise for us is scramble drill stuff. It feels like the designed routes rarely give the opportunity for openness. And so Jalen has fallen into the terrible habit of, if he doesn't see it right away, he's going to break the pocket. He's going to buy time. He's going to try to hold it as long as he can to give AJ an opportunity to break
let me ask you,
the end zone, other guys to come back to him.
But let me ask you this question.
Playground stuff.
Can you honestly look at the offensive line play and tell me that if you were the quarterback standing back there, that you would have the confidence to stand in the pocket?
No, of course
Justin
not.
Herbert took off and ran last night because his offensive line was not giving him the protection that he needed. He still got sacked 7 times, okay? Yeah. So with Jalen, this is why I always talk about the importance of pressure. And people think that I'm the, blitz from the womb, and the old man, sitting on his porch yelling at the kids to get off. I understand the importance of pressure on quarterbacks, and what you're seeing with Jalen, what you're seeing with him is pressure speeds up a quarterback's clock. Pressure makes a quarterback feel uncomfortable in the pocket.
Yeah,
pressure messes up the timing and the rhythm of plays, and it also messes up the footwork of a quarterback.
Yeah.
So if you look at some of those interceptions last night, he's bailing backwards and throwing the ball instead of actually stepping into it.
And what about the one where he did like the draw fake, and then like, how on earth do you time all that up? He's shotgun, he does a fake QB draw, and then you still got guys running routes. Like, this is part of the problem.
He didn't make it up, John.
Offensive linemen.
You think he made it up, or you think this is something that was put into that
That's
play?
what I'm saying. This staff, this offensive staff, like, we had problems for how long? We still have problems with offensive linemen going downfield all the time. Last night we were holding on the edges every single snap. It felt like the angles aren't what they need to be in the run game, but we still were succeeding. Yet we weren't willing to run it enough, and I wonder why that is. Jalen,
because they don't play.
Jalen's burst didn't come until overtime.
Because
Seth.
They don't.
Why was that?
They don't see. They don't, in the run game, they don't see the profitability of double teams and sticking on the double teams long enough to get movement. So the running game is just not going to work. They don't play the numbers game, okay? Because when you get 7 or 8 guys in the box, there's no way you cannot run the ball against that look. Because when the safety comes walking down late, okay? The blocking scheme is pretty much defined. So when you run away from him, he knows that there's a gap away, so he just crashes the gap and hits Saquon in the backfield.
Yeah.
Then when you run the ball to the extra guy, the free hitter in the box, guess what? He's standing right there to make the tackle. So anytime you get 2 high safeties, okay, and it's pretty determinate for the quarterback to be able to see when they're in too high, because there's a certain, he's got to be lined up. Both of those safeties have to be lined up at 12 yards max in order for you to say, okay, they're going to stay in too high. But once that one safety starts to creep down and you get one at 12 and one at 8 or 9 or one at 7, you know damn well that, he's dropping down in the box for the run. Mm-hmm. So at the line of scrimmage, there has to be a check that you go to get you out of the run play, okay, and take advantage of the pass play. Because what happens,
setting him up for success.
What
they
happens?
Need to do more of
what
this.
happens, John, when you got single high safety? Okay, I'm gonna go max protect. Saquon step up and block. I got AJ on one side, and I got Devontae on the other, in a single high safety. I'm running a bang 8 with AJ, and I'm running a hot, fast post right now, and I'm looking at the safety, and I'm saying, okay, which one are you going to cover?
Right.
Okay, whichever one you're going to cover, I'm going to throw the ball the other way.
Right.
Then you get to the blitz. We still don't have an answer for zero blitz. Do you know what the answer is? The moon ball to AJ, the
That's
goal
it,
ball,
yeah.
every single time.
Yeah.
And when you look at the big picture, there's nobody in the middle of the field. Why is it that we don't have somebody running away from a defender? No.
Seaming it?
Put Smitty or
Smitty?
Jahan on a just running across the field as hot and fast as he can right now. Okay? It's the easiest throw in the world because he's right there in front of Jalen, and he doesn't have to bail because the pressure doesn't get there. But their remedy is to throw it deep every time. Why don't we check when we see right now zero blitz, no safety in the hole? Why don't we check and go to bunch and run some rub routes? You know, because you got to get one guy out, one guy in, and one guy's got to sit down inside, or you can vary it however you want to.
I think because
with the guy
we got
inside.
called for it every time we'd run rub routes. Isn't that part of the problem? Like the coaching staff, has had a real struggle.
You want to know why? Because
coaching that up properly.
Because the pick guy keeps running. The pick guy keeps running. All you got to do is hook up and turn at the quarterback and put your hands like that. And if the guy runs into you, it's not a pick, right? But if you keep running and you're trying to figure out, you know, how can I distract him? How can I just distract him enough without running into him? And then you wind up running into him, and it's a penalty.
But the thing that's crazy is, remember, for years, like we were saying this, and we were complaining, and Nick would be on the sideline screaming at the refs because they were calling it again, but it was illegal.
Why does everybody else?
He's a receiver. Nick, our coach, is a former receiver. Why can't we coach this properly?
Why does everybody else run it with success and we can't?
Oh, everyone with tons of success.
Where's the double crossers?
Oh my gosh, bingo cross.
Where's the double crosser with the deep dig behind it that pulls guys out of zone? I just, you know,
because we just won. We run.
I know
we run a couple routes. That's it.
I know today everybody wants to talk about the 4 interceptions. Okay,
yes.
But I'm telling you, when he sits in the pocket, and you guys know, I call a spade a spade. You know, he played bad. He's been playing bad for a while. I've sat here in the studio with you guys and said it for a while. There are glimpses, you know, like that third down pass that
it's unbelievable.
That third down slant to Smitty.
One of the great throws of his career.
Yes.
But my question is, where was that play?
It felt like a miracle in the moment. It's
get into that rhythm.
Like a different person took over his body and made that play out of nowhere.
He didn't get into that mode until it was too late.
Go a little further, okay? Where was that play the rest of the game? Like, we haven't seen that play. You didn't see that play before it or after it. Now, you're not going to sit here and tell me that the only time that they ran that zone coverage was that one time. Okay? So they've run it before. But what do great coordinators do? If they beat you with something, they go back and use it again. Yeah. It bit Ben Johnson last week against the Packers because the same play that they beat Reed Blankenship with the week before, they ran it at crunch time again, and Nixon picked it off. Okay? But tell me how many plays that we run and have success with do you see us flip the formation, run it on the other side?
Right.
How many times do you see it again? It's almost like, you know, he's got this grab bag of plays.
Picks one out.
And I'm just going to pick. Let's run this one. Oh, let me throw that one away because we're not going to run that one again. Here's my grab. Let's run another one. It doesn't make any sense because the things that
it's an amazing analogy.
The things that they succeed with, they don't consistently come back with it. Yeah. And they don't have other plays that are built off of the things that they have successes with.
Right.
You know, they're almost like one-offs. And he's got his sheet in front of him, and he, you know, all right, let's run this. And they run it, and every other coordinator that you see in the National Football League, what do? They got a pen in their hand, okay? And they're taking notes.
That worked. That didn't. Yeah.
Do you see our offensive coordinator doing that kind of thing, where he knows that there are certain things previously in the game that you've had success with that we can come back to it and try it again, or you got two or three things off of it that looks the same.
No, plays that
but
start
a small
out the
variation.
Same, they start out looking the same. They end up different. We don't do that. We don't have the stuff that makes it easier for the offense. Like that's what's so crazy.
That's a great point, because every inch that we get is so laborious.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's easy. And the great thing, James, about the Eagles playing on Sunday night and then coming back and playing on the Monday night is I got a chance to sit in front of the TV all day Sunday for 2 weeks in a row and watch how
good the Rams are, how good that Rams offense is,
how innovative and how great
Sean McVay.
How great Ben Johnson adjusts.
Ben Johnson also,
of
course. Yeah.
How he plays with your eyes and how he attacks your lack of technique and fundamentals, because he knows that the defensive end is supposed to contain. But on run plays away, because teams are having so much success that the defensive end is crashing, so we can go bootleg and get Caleb out of the pocket.
Inside,
and they're attacking, their ability to attack not only you schematically, but their ability to attack your weaknesses fundamentally and technically.
Yes. And we don't do that. We try to overpower people with our roster.
Our defense is being attacked that way.
Yeah.
Our defensive ends got a problem. Like I almost went through the TV last night watching Jalix Hunt, Jalen Phillips, and Nolan Smith. You're on the edge. You got contained. Okay. You're supposed to play it out, inside shoulder and squeeze it. But what winds up happening is, because they're having success running inside, and because you just got gashed for 281 last week, you're trying to stick your head inside and do somebody else's damn job. And when they did bottle it up in the middle, all of a sudden this little Vidal kid, he bounces it outside and takes off at 15. Where if you just do your job, stay outside, okay? If Jalen Phillips, I know you want to run down the line and get the tackle, but when Justin Herbert showed you that he had the propensity to start running the football because they couldn't get it done in the pass game, that's where you have to trust your teammates to do their job. And you have to stay at the end of the line on any floor away from you and ensure before you chase down the line that nothing's coming back. No jet sweep, no bootleg, nothing's coming back. No cutback. But what does he do at the most critical time?
Crash.
In that drive, how many times did Justin Herbert run the football in that drive where they went to
repeatedly overtime? He had all this success,
and I'm
on
like,
the ground.
So now you're attacking them technically and fundamentally in what they do, because that they're going to do things that are wrong, that break the integrity of your defense.